all of you. I'm Neha Bhadwaj-Alter and this is Game On. It's time to get you all the latest from World Cup 2023. And Australia finally showed their dominance in this tournament after beating Sri Lanka by 5 wickets with 88 balls remaining. We'll talk about that win. We'll also set up today's game for you. It's the red-hot South Africa who will take on the Netherlands in Dharamshala, where it has rained overnight. It was raining just a while back, but right now the showers have stopped. There are chances of showers during the match. Chetan Narula and Vedabjay Shankar are here with us to look back on Australia's performance. What's wrong with Sri Lanka? Can they get a win in this World Cup? And of course, we're going to be setting up the match between South Africa and Netherlands. Welcome, gentlemen. Let me get straight to it then. First, I've got to ask about Sri Lanka. With that bowling, Chetan, do you see them winning any games in the World Cup, especially against the top teams?
Hello, Meha. No, I don't think so. I think Sri Lanka have shown a degree of weakness which actually separates them from the top teams in this World Cup. I mean, their best chance was against Pakistan, to be very honest, because Pakistan's batting can be a bit frail. But Mohammad Rizwan played a gem of a knock. Abdullah Shafiq played a great knock as well. So I think the best chance to beat a top team was against Pakistan. England, maybe, but I think England will bounce back at some point in this tournament, just like Australia has. So I think apart from Afghanistan and the Netherlands, I don't see Sri Lanka picking up any points. And even against Afghanistan, it'll just depend on that day, because if Afghanistan turn up the way they turned up against England, then I don't think Sri Lanka can beat them either. So it'll just depend on the conditions on the day. But I think Afghanistan and Netherlands are the only two sides which Sri Lanka can hope to beat at this point.
Okay, what about Australia then, Vedam? They are back. They've come roaring back into the competition, but too early to put them back in that favourites list?
You could say that, but, sometimes I wonder whether, it's good to, as you go along, to peak at the right time. They have started badly. They've not started poorly. They've started badly. They lost 2 matches, but they lost to 2 good teams. But they still have a very good chance of making it to the semi-finals, considering the kind of opposition they're going to run into from now onwards. But I still feel that these small targets are a little tricky. And yesterday also at one stage, I thought it was getting tricky. But thanks to that lovely partnership between Labuschagne and English, they just got through. But otherwise, these small targets are tricky, and I think Australia almost lost the plot. But it's good to have such a win in your back, basically because it's a fighting win. Whether you're batting, you're bowling, you're fielding, you have to give your every inch for that. And sometimes that entire effort lifts up the team tremendously. And I think that's what it will do to Australia. They are a team which knows how to win, and a timely win like yesterday's would do yeoman service to their entire spirits.
Okay, now let's take you back to the action. Australia, they surprised one and all with their below par performance in this World Cup, losing first 2 matches tamely to India and South Africa. But it's not an Australian team that does not fight back when pushed into a corner, and that's exactly what they did against Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka started off brilliantly with both their openers putting up a partnership of 125 runs, and it looked like they will go on to get a 300-plus total. But Pat Cummins and Adam Zampa claimed 2 wickets each to slow down the proceedings before rain stopped play in the 33rd over. Then Cummins got the breakthrough when Nishanka picked out David Warner at deep mid-wicket. A superb catch by David Warner. Not long after, he got Pereira to turn the tide back Australia's way before Zampa took 2 wickets in 1 over. David Warner was again in action in that one. Sri Lanka collapsed in the most dramatic manner from 125 for no loss to 209 all out. Adam Zampa was the pick of the bowlers for Australia, returning with the figures of 4 for 47, while Pat Cummins and Mitchell Starc grabbed 2 apiece. In defence of their total, Sri Lanka started well with Dilshan Madhushanka taking 2 wickets in 12 deliveries. But despite sending David Warner and Steve Smith back to the pavilion, Australia didn't look like they were in trouble. Mitchell Marsh, he steadied the ship. He needed to put his hand up after 2 quiet outings, and that's what he did, scoring 52 of 51 deliveries to help Australia stabilise. Josh English and Marnus Labuschagne then made the chase get out of Sri Lanka's hands with the stand of 77 off 86. Glenn Maxwell and Marcus Stoinis chipped in with cameos to take the team home. Maxwell hitting 31 of 21 balls, which included 4 fours and 2 sixes, and Stoinis got 20 of 10 deliveries. Australia chasing the target in 35.2 overs, which left their net run rate still in the negative, but pushing them up to number 8 position from number 10 with 2 crucial points. Okay, let's talk about Australia. As Vedam was saying, Chetan, yes, they won this game, but there were moments where you felt like Sri Lanka might just come on top. Be it the opening partnership by their openers, by the Sri Lankan openers, or how David Warner and Steve Smith, they were dismissed early on. So yes, they came back, they won the game, but it wasn't all smooth sailing for Australia.
Oh, no, absolutely not. And I was watching the Australian innings yesterday and I was thinking, against the top side, against Pakistan, who they're playing next, this batting performance is not going to do the job. They got those 2 points, and it was a bit of a respite for the Australian team that they had 2 batsmen scoring half centuries and all. But that batting performance is not going to cut it against the top teams or against better sides than Sri Lanka going ahead, starting with Pakistan in the next game. Against Pakistan, they're liable to lose that match than against Sri Lanka. So from my perspective, I don't think Australia benefited as much. Maybe in the confidence, maybe say, okay, you know what, you've got 2 points, you've started off the tournament, you've got some momentum. But that batting performance will not do anything in terms of a confidence booster, just the individual way or from a collective batting standpoint. And let me also just say this. You can't play both Steve Smith and Marnus Labuschagne. One of them has to be dropped, and you can't wait for Travis Head. You have Cameron White. Yes, he's low on confidence, but you can change around the way you bat. Put Cameron White to open the innings, put Mitchell Marsh at number 3 so that your innings gets momentum from the beginning. Just change around things. You can't have both Steve Smith and Marnus Labuschagne, one of them failing, at least one of them failing every innings. It just doesn't work. That batting performance, if I'm an Australian fan, I'm not going to be happy today. Yes, you got the 2 points, but that batting performance, that's still very, very scary.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, the target that they had to chase down was 209. And yes, Vedam, you said this yesterday as well in the mid-innings show that, look, 209 is a tricky target. But it's still just 209. With the kind of depth that Australia have, you want them to be chasing down a target like 209 against a Sri Lankan bowling attack far more easily than they did.
Yeah, just imagine if Sri Lanka had somebody like a Malinga also in the attack. They could have defended that 209. I have no doubt about it. If somebody like Muralidharan or Malinga was there. Basically because the Sri Lankan attack didn't have the depth. They had Australia on the ropes, but they couldn't finish it off. They just didn't have the bowling depth to finish it off. I think that was a problem. Australia also, I think they'll play around with their batting. One good thing is they have batsmen. They have batsmen who can go hell for leather when the ball is hard. But like Chetan says, maybe Steve Smith and Labuschagne are not the people who should be coming up at number 3 and number 4 when the ball is hard. It's better to send somebody like Glenn Maxwell. And we know he can hit a long ball. Somebody like that who could really take the battle onto the others. And maybe see what happens again in these kind of conditions is between the 11th and 40th over, if you're able to get about 7-8 runs an over without hitting, pushing for singles and twos when you have just 4 in the outfield, that's what it counts. And yesterday when we looked at English and Labuschagne playing in those middle overs, they played like a test match, literally. It did look like they were playing a ODI. But it was called for. That kind of a batting performance was called for. Because another wicket at that stage would have made the thing very, very tricky. And not only did they keep the run going, they didn't score at a hectic pace. I think it was less than a run a ball. But they kept the innings going. And it's a good thing that Australia has got batsmen who can hammer the bowling and at the same time guys who can, rotate the strike and move it along. They have it in them, but everything is not falling in place yet. But hopefully, like I said, if they can peak in time, then they'll go a long way.
Okay, let's also talk about their captain, Pat Cummins. Hasn't had a smooth ride, Chetan. Always in the eye of the storm, right? Even yesterday, there were rumors that maybe he'll drop himself because he hasn't been doing well. In that sense, how do you look at this performance? Because they'll go back, or they would have gone back yesterday to the dressing room and said, you know what, we won the game, we did come back with the ball as well, but it wasn't the kind of dominating performance we would have liked from our pacers. Once again, how difficult is it for this Australian pace attack to adjust to the conditions, even in the matches that are coming up for them?
Obviously, you've asked a variety of questions. Let me start one by one with Pat Cummins' performance yesterday. It was an inspirational performance. Like I used the phrase yesterday, it was a captain's spell, which we can use for a bowler, just like a captain's innings that we use for a batsman. So it was a captain's spell that he bowled, and I think that re-energized the Australian fielding effort. But again, going back to that question that you mentioned, that there was chatter that he was going to be self-dropped or leave himself out. You look at the Australian pacemen, and who is the most likely to get dropped out of those three? Mitchell Starc has a great record in World Cups. He's the left-arm pacer, brings in that angle, Yorker specialist, etc., etc. Josh Hazlewood, his lengths are very tough to beat in India with the white ball. He's a brilliant one-day bowler, brilliant white ball bowler. In fact, he's a brilliant all-format bowler. So who is the most likely to be dropped out of those three? It has to be Pat Cummins. So the problem, obviously, in that Australian camp is, do they even have the right captain for this tournament? And the answer, perhaps, is no. And Pat Cummins doesn't do himself any favors. Yesterday we talked about Rohit Sharma's personality and how a captain's personality always rubs off on the team. Pat Cummins hasn't been the most likable character in Australian cricket. And last year, I was in Australia for the T20 World Cup. One of the reasons why the Australian fans were not warming up to the World Cup was because they didn't want to support a team led by Pat Cummins. And this is something that has been told to me directly by some of the Australian fans. I was a guest at a couple of Airbnbs, and they were cricket-loving people, and they told me this: he's not the most likable character. We are not sure we want to support a team led by Pat Cummins after everything that happened, especially in Perth, Western Australia, after everything that happened with Justin Langer. So there is something going on. I'm not an Australian team insider, so there's something going on in that Australian team, in that Australian dressing room, which is just not right. And if you have to start with a point, it is that probably they don't have the right captain for this tournament. Maybe Steve Smith should have been captain, but again, he's not scoring any runs at the moment. So overall, it's not painting a very pretty picture.
Can I tell you, I have to disagree to that one, because I feel like he's actually been good for this Australian side. I mean, at a time when they were struggling, they couldn't find... Pardon me?
Maybe a different format.
Agree.
I'm talking about...
I agree. But then you're
but maybe
also...
not for this tournament.
Yeah, so the moment you think of, okay, he's not right for the tournament, who will you go for? The only other name that comes to mind is Steve Smith. And like you said, Steve Smith's not scoring runs. So they don't have a choice right now, and he's doing everything that he can. I don't know if Vedam agrees with this as well, but I feel like he's been actually a good captain for them in the way he's, marshaled the troops.
Let's look at how the Australia actually chooses a captain. First, they choose a team, they playing level, and then they go and whoever they want, they go and appoint him as captain. Now, take Cummins away from the team. They don't have a third fast bowler. The other fast bowlers who are sitting there are not good enough at all. We saw them in the series when they played against India. Okay, if you're going to have just two fast bowlers, you need more spinners. Who are the spinners? The only guy who looks like a spinner is Adam Zampa. They don't have a second spinner. So when you look at it from those angles, he is your best bowler. When I say best bowler, he's the best fifth bowler that you can have. So I would go with Cummins, absolutely. And teams like these, actually, they know what to do, how to do it and when to do it. And they are quite confident. They've all played together for a long time. This is not an inexperienced Australian team. This is a highly experienced Australian team. They had a tough series in the Ashes. They come to India. They played well. They played well before also. And I think their work is cut out for them. They know their jobs. So I don't know who called for the sacking of Pat Cummins, But if you lose two matches, if you have to be sacked, then I don't think Australian cricket works that way at all. They've even lost series and kept the captain going. So I think he is the best guy that they have, whether as a captain or as a bowler or whatever. And I'm not so sure about Steve Smith, because I was there in Bangalore when that brain freeze happened. And you cannot be a captain and say that you had a brain freeze when you're
Yeah,
looking back for a DRS, to the dressing room. That's
I
not
remember
on. And
that.
he's the captain also who got caught with that ball
Sandpaper.
tampering. So I don't think he is a good captain at all.
Okay, Chetan, you wanted to come back on that one.
Yes, I mean, Steve Smith, there are issues there with his captaincy and leadership, but I think he's moved past that. He served his punishment. And more importantly, the Australian fans and media have, forgiven him for that. They've moved on from that. And obviously the fact that he is vice captain across formats just goes to show that, that the Australian Cricket Australia has also moved past that. There is no doubt about his leadership qualities. I mean, the Indore test match was more down to his captaincy in Australia winning than just, spinning India out, etc., etc. However, I think there is another candidate for captaincy in this squad, and his name hasn't really floated past, and that's Mitchell Marsh. He led the Australian side in South Africa. Yes, they lost, and obviously they were not playing their first choice team over there. But I think Mitchell Marsh, at least in the white ball format, is a good candidate for captaincy. And yes, they do pick their captain from their first choice 11. And of course, if their captain has made it to the team sheet, then they obviously make him captain for that team. But I'm just talking about yesterday's game. When you're putting down a playing 11 for Lucknow on spin-friendly conditions, do you play a third pacer? Yes, they don't have a second spinner. Do you beef it up with Cameron White? You bring in an additional batsman. So all those considerations, there was a conversation in the Australian media camp whether Pat Cummins should be in the playing 11 for the Sri Lanka game. He performed well, so he will continue to lead. And even Adam Zampa said that we are totally backing each other.
Yeah.
So that's how professional they are. But there is a lingering question mark over Pat Cummins.
Okay, talking about Mitchell Marsh, this is what Mitchell Marsh had to say after their win against Sri Lanka. He says, it was a really good day for us. We came into the game with a little bit of pressure after the slow start, but our experienced guys stood up. We're away. I wouldn't say soul searching, but there was plenty of hurt after the loss to South Africa. Hopefully, that's a stepping stone for us in the right direction. The other thing that he says is that how they finished it off in a great manner. And we'll put that quote up as well for all of you, where he says, the boys were calm and the way we finished it off was great. I went for 1 over, but I was shut down. We have a heap of options, 3 quicks, Adam Zampa, Maxwell, Marcus Stoinis and myself. Pat Cummins always has a calm demeanor. The way he bowled and his bowling changes were fantastic. English is a fighter and loves a contest. He plays spin well and backs his skill. We spoke about how important it was for someone like a Mitchell Marsh to get runs, and that's exactly what he did yesterday. And Australia would be happy with his performance because, there are others who are struggling for form. But Vedam, let's also talk about the turnaround that Adam Zampa made and how important it is for Australia to have him in form. He bowled yesterday with a back spasm. Hopefully he's better now, or he will be better for the next game. But he bowled with a back spasm. He said he woke up to this pain in his back. To be able to perform like that, especially because you've struggled in the first 2 games, right? You've got 1 wicket and you've given away some 123 runs. To come back, how important is that for Australia? Their only specialist spinner finally getting wickets.
Very important. And if you look at the opposition, somebody like Sri Lanka, Sri Lanka has always been very good players of spin bowling. And Sri Lankan batting is pretty good. Their bowling may be rubbish, but their batting is really good. There's no doubt about it. Even against Pakistan, I think they got 345 or so against Pakistan. So they have a good batting lineup. and to deliver against them, I think that was a very good performance from Adam Zampa. He did just what was expected of him. The way he attacked those middle and leg stumps, got the odd ball to turn away, and then tossed it outside the off stump, inviting the cut. I think he did everything that was needed, and it was an outstanding bowling performance. But Australia need to get a second or even a third spinner very quickly. Maxwell is doing a holding job, but it's not enough to do a holding job. At that stage, you need to get wickets, especially between that, like we keep saying, when the ball gets older, you need to get those wickets. And I think they need to look very quickly into whomever they have and ensure that they sort of deliver. But if they want to go long in this tournament, they have the team, but they just have to deliver.
Okay, this is what Adam Zampa had said after a brilliant effort. He says that bowling to set batters as well, trying to build some pressure, I just wasn't really able to do that. I won't make any excuses. I think I should be good enough to kind of play that role well. It's taking me a lot longer to get into the game than I would have liked. And then I thought Cummins' spell in particular was a bit of a game changer for us, and even his energy in the field, the run out after the rain break changed the energy for us, and which is true because the moment Sri Lanka came back after the rain break, they were completely at sea, and also the ball was gripping just a little bit, and they really were struggling right after that. So here we are with Australia having finally got 2 points. Sri Lanka still struggling. Can they come back? It seems unlikely because they've just got too many injuries. Even their captain had to go back, Dasun Shanaka. He's not there. Kushal Mendis is the one that they rely on now, and a couple of wickets out. And Sri Lanka do not have the kind of batting that they would have liked. Okay, let's move on now. There's a match on today. Unbeaten after 2 games and sitting at 3rd place on the World Cup points table with the best net run rate of all 10 teams. South Africa now play a potential banana skin in Netherlands. While the Dutch team are last on the points table, they were the team that pulled off the upset of last year's T20 World Cup in Australia by beating South Africa and ending another ICC tournament in stunning heartbreak for the Proteas. The format this time is of course different, and the South African team boasts arguably the mightiest batting lineup of the tournament. From Quinton de Kock, who scored centuries in both matches, down to the most devastating middle-order duo of Hendrik Klaassen and David Miller. The Netherlands have a capable bowling attack, as we saw in their opener versus Pakistan, but will it be good enough to stop a rampant South African lineup in Dharamshala? With its smaller boundaries, the high altitude and possibly colder weather after overnight rains. So much to look forward to. How good have South Africa been with them? To just see this side, I don't think anybody gave them a chance. And more than that, it's not even really about that choker's tag. I feel like they've made a statement in every game that they've played. It's incredible to watch this team.
I would like to see them choking against Netherlands.
Come on.
That should really set the cat among the pigeons. It would be a great tournament for us, especially, the way things are going. But, forget about past results.
Yeah.
This South African team is too good for Netherlands, because Netherlands don't have the batting, and South Africa has an awesome bowling attack. And I don't think this Netherlands team will match up at all. That's how I look at it. But like I said, it would be great fun if they're able to upset South Africa's apple cart. But seriously, yes, you're right about South Africa. They've been fielding brilliantly. They've been bowling brilliantly. And of course, Quinton de Kock, ideal opening batsman there, left-hander, right at the top, not scared to go after the bowling. And, he's playing bold. And he's a sort of opening batsman that any team would love to have. And he's in great form. And South Africa have got a lot of good hitters. The only problem is, like you said, yes, they are a team of chokers. And another issue is, I don't know how much of this quota system is really working in their favor. Sooner or later, when push comes to shove, it could disrupt, team spirit and things like that. But otherwise, yes, South Africa is a good side. They're a very competitive side. And I don't expect Netherlands at all to challenge them. I think it should be a roller. They should just steamroll over them.
Which is what everybody said when England were playing Afghanistan. But anything can happen, as South Africa would also know, Chetan, given that they were beaten by Netherlands in the last World Cup in T20Is. It's a different ball game, 50 overs, and that has really been the problem with Netherlands. They've got the fight, they've got the class in terms of, there are players like Bastelide. How good has he been for Netherlands? But it's just, when it comes to 50 overs, which has been the problem with all these teams, they're not able to sustain themselves. Can they do it today?
In terms of in terms of a boxing match, this is like an amateur versus a pro fight, to be very honest, irrespective of the format. South Africa, yes, they are a great batting side at the moment. I think India will question the tag that you gave them, Meha, that they are the best batting side in this tournament. I think Rohit Sharma will have something to say about that. But apart from that, I think their middle order is absolutely brilliant. The way Klaasen and Aiden Markram have been batting. Quinton de Kock, I think he's trying to prove a point in his final appearances in ODI cricket. They're too good at the moment. However, they can slip up on their day. But it's just too long a format. I think we discussed this again, last time Netherlands played. It's just too big a format. It's just too stretched out for them. 100 overs to be able to trip up a team, a top team. It's just impossible in 100 overs. You have to have the intensity and the ability of Afghanistan to be able to do that. I don't think Netherlands have the tools. Like I said, it's amateur versus pro in this format. In T20, obviously, the time duration of the game, it levels up. T20 cricket levels up teams, even if they are highly mismatched. But in this situation, I just don't think Netherlands have the ability to be able to upset South Africa. If anybody can upset South Africa, it's South Africa themselves today, and that can happen. It has happened in the past. So I don't think the World Cup is ready for Netherlands beats South Africa headline. I just don't think I don't think we need that headline. I think we need a strong South Africa. I think they're performing really well. The conditions suit them. It suits their batting. Under lights, it suits their bowling. I think it's a good South African side, and I would like to see them in the semi-finals. I would like to see them in contention for the finals. Who knows? I would want to see them go the distance.
Can I tell you, but one more upset here. Yeah. One more upset here. And I'm telling you, this World Cup, suddenly you'll have people watching all the games, Otherwise, mostly it's like, Netherlands, South Africa, this is a completely one-sided affair. Why do you want to watch it? Which is exactly what people would have thought with England, Afghanistan. One more upset, Vedam, things are going to completely be different. I feel like it'll come alive, the World Cup. But let's also tell all our viewers what has been happening in Dharamshala, because the pitch and the squares are all covered at present, though they are saying that the match is going to start on time. Super Soppers are working. There has been snowfall in some of the high altitude areas around Dharamshala. It rained overnight. It was raining in the morning, but hopefully we'll get a full game. There have been light rain showers since last night. The team, staff, players, they were seen wearing jackets. So it is going to be cold. And that's why I'm wondering, what will the team winning the toss like to do? So let's find out from both Chetan and Vedam, what do you think the teams will look to do and what is a good option? Chetan, win the toss and bat first, or win the toss, put in the team, get your seamers, try to use the conditions?
If it was dry and sunny, if it was Dharamshala of the past two games that we've seen, then I would have thought South Africa to bat first. They would have liked to bat first after winning the toss and put on, again, a huge 350, 380 total, maybe even 400. But because of the conditions, I think both sides would like to bowl first. I think South Africa have a brilliant bowling lineup, and that would really be able to use the conditions to good effect. I think there's no question. It's a bowl first situation at the moment.
Vedam, you agree?
I know what South Africa will want. they would want that this does not become a T20 match.
Huh.
They would like to play a full 50 overs, because I think we know what happened last time that these two teams played the T20 game. So that's what they're waiting for. Yes, see, look, it doesn't matter whether South Africa is going to chase or going to bat first.
Huh.
It's just that if with the threat of rain looming, they would prefer chasing, and I think they're head and shoulders about this. Netherlands side, South Africa will win, and it doesn't matter whether they're batting first or bowling first.
Okay, let's also then talk about some of the things that South Africa could be worried about, not just in this game, Chetan, but going into the tournament against some of the other teams. Is there anything to worry about for this team?
There is definitely. I think in the batting, I think the form of Temba Bavuma, that's a bit of a worry for them. He just doesn't cut it. I mean, in my opinion, I think in my opinion, he doesn't make the first choice 11. Obviously there's the quota system, and we have to respect what, Cricket South Africa are doing with that, what their country's laws are. But I just don't see how he's the captain of that side. I just don't see how he's the opening batsman of that side, or a top order batsman in that side. It's just so many good batsmen over there. So yeah, Temba Bavuma for me is a major weak point. I mean, he's a walking wicket at this point in time, and their bowling. It's very good when you have the pacers firing and everything. But I think their spinners, Tabraiz Shamsi, backup spinner to Keshav Maharaj. Keshav Maharaj is a good spinner. But I think when we go against the top sides, when we see South Africa play against the top sides on spin-friendly wickets, or pitches which are conducive to spin, like we saw in Ahmedabad or in Chennai, etc., how much of an impact can these two make in those two games? That will decide a lot. How far South Africa go into this tournament. The knockouts are in Mumbai and in Mumbai and Kolkata. So if South Africa get to the semi-final, depending on their position, I don't think Kolkata will have that much of a spin element. But Mumbai, it might just, especially in the first innings. So it'll depend on the conditions and how well their spin pairing can perform. I think these are the two weak points that South Africa does have.
I'm surprised you say that, because Temba Bavuma has actually done well. 12 matches, 680 runs. And what's more is that if you look at the top 10 players in ODIs this year, of course, Shubman Gill right at the top, Rohit Sharma number 2, Virat Kohli number 3. But then you have 4 South African batters in there. There is Aiden Markram at number 4. There is Temba Bavuma, there's Heinrich Klaasen and David Miller. And I think that, Vedam, also just goes on to show why this team is so lethal, why this team is dangerous in this format, and what we've seen in the tournament so far. When you have so many informed batters in one team, the others will be worried.
Yeah, absolutely. See, the more number of match winners you can put into a 11 or push into a playing 11, the better, obviously, for that team. And in that way, South Africa have got those batsmen, and they've got a lot of those bowlers who can do it. The thing is, are they peaking too early? One. Another thing is, we don't know if one of their main guys gets injured, how the reserve strength is. If the bench strength is not good, especially if they have to maintain this quota system that they have, if they have to maintain that quota for the playing 11, we don't know how it will turn out for them. So it's not just the bench strength of their quota system that they have. So that also has to be good. And in a long tournament, it's a long drawn out tournament, you have a lot of traveling to do. You're playing 9 league matches, and you don't know if you're peaking at the right time, how to carry yourself right through and stay motivated, stay in the game, and it's not a question of just distraction. India can be a tough place to travel for anybody, and South Africa will find it. It'll be tough. Many of those things. So over a long distance, you need the heart and lungs of a long distance runner, especially in a tournament like this World Cup when you're playing so many matches. So whether they have the legs, the heart, the strength, that we'll have to wait and see. But I think South Africa is a good type. As of now, they're a very good side. But as the match progresses or the tournament progresses, some of those cracks might really widen much more.
Okay, now for all of you wondering why we haven't given you the toss update, toss information, that's because toss has been delayed due to wet outfield. As if the whole controversial thing around the outfield wasn't bad enough. Now it's wet outfield, Chetan. Though Temba Bavuma was asked this question before the match, on the eve of the match about the outfield, and he said he wasn't too worried about it. But we know that, you know, Josh Butler has spoken about it. He said he doesn't like the outfield and to tell their players not to dive in a particular way or not to dive in that place. That just does not work in a tournament like the World Cup. What are you expecting today, and can that be a problem at all?
It can be. It just depends how patchy it is. Let's not hide the fact that the outfield at Dharamshala is not just, you know, it is not great. It's not great for international cricket at the moment. Obviously, with English criticism, you add 10%, and for the rest of the teams, you take away that 10%. So I think, like if Temba Bavuma says he's not concerned, yeah, that's just about true.
Just the best is when Netherlands camp was asked this. He says we are used to training in worse conditions.
Exactly.
So we are totally okay with this, with this outfield.
Yeah. So, so the English criticism can be over the top, you know, for everything, to be honest. So it's somewhere in the middle. Like I said, it's not too great for international cricket. You know, you have great outfields across the country, across the World Cup. So Dharamshala hasn't really lived up to that parameter, but there have been reasons for it. Obviously, the ICC and BCCI are to blame for it, but there've also been weather conditions, fungal attacks, things which are out of control, really. But then you question whether you should have changed the venue at an earlier stage. So you know, there are about 100 things to criticize about this tournament, and this is just one of those 100. But I think it's decent enough to play at the moment, and if both captains are happy with it, then I don't think there's a point of criticism. Like Vedam said, I think South Africa will be more they'll be caring more about the number of overs that will be reduced today than the outfield.
I think that's the right way to be approaching a match, to just see that, oh my gosh, it shouldn't be 20 overs in case we lose to them. I think South Africa would not think like that. Yes.
But I still think, you know, it's the easiest motivational speech in the South African dressing room today, especially if it's a 20-over game. Yeah. You know, they beat us at the last T20 World Cup. We're going to show them who we really are, all of that jazz. It's the easiest motivational speech, you know, today to be given in the South African dressing room.
But let's put that big news up for everybody who's watching, and that is rain threat looms in Dharamshala, because it's been raining overnight and now the toss has been delayed in that South Africa-Netherlands match due to wet outfield. That's right. Super Soppers are busy at work. Sanjay Manjakar on air has mentioned that rain has stopped, but toss has been delayed. What does this mean? We tell you, you know, as for now, I don't think that overs are going to be reduced. They'll wait. They have enough time, but hopefully we get the start early, because if that doesn't happen, that at some point overs will be reduced. The pitch and the squares are covered. Like I said earlier, there's been snowfall in some areas around Dharamshala recently. It's been raining for the last couple of days. It rained last night as well. It was raining in the morning. And right now, the news from Dharamshala is that toss has been delayed due to wet outfield. But just coming back to this, Vedam, did you want to say something? You just made a point.
See, some of the problems of many of these outfields are with their sand-based. Now, most of the grounds are sand-based. It's not like before. Many of the grounds or most of the grounds are sand-based. But sometimes that sand doesn't really work out well in certain outfields. You know, for whatever reason, I don't understand that, but the sand doesn't work out well. And that's when it becomes a challenge for your knees and your ankle, especially when you're doing that sliding stop and things like that. So I think there is a little bit of caution required, especially I know that for a fact that Dharamshala is a sand-based ground, and that's a challenge actually that's why they say don't dive, don't throw yourself around, especially if there's a problem with your knee and with not with if there's a problem, it could lead to a problem with your knee or your ankle. And I think it's a caution worthy, especially for a match like South Africa and Netherlands. You don't want a big South African player, going down with a
No,
knee injury
absolutely.
or an ankle injury.
Yeah, because I remember in the match against, was it Bangladesh, Afghanistan, Mujibur Rahman, he almost would have got hurt because of that outfield. And I remember Jonathan Trott talking about it as well. But now let's move on to the other story. After Mickey Arthur received criticism for his feels like a BCCI event and not a World Cup remark, ICC has come up with a response. Pakistan team director Arthur's controversial comment on the ambience and the arrangement at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad after their team's loss against India hasn't gone down well with fans and former cricketers. Now, the ICC has responded, though ICC chairman Greg Barclay, he was asked to have a say on the matter, and he's downplayed it as mere criticism that every World Cup edition faces. So, he was asked this question, what does he think about it? And we've got that quote, and he says, every event that we have, there's always criticisms but from various quarters, things that perhaps we'll take away and try to work on, try to do better. So, this event's only at the start. Let's see how this whole thing plays out. And then we'll go away and we'll review what could change. Though, let me also tell you that Mickey Arthur's remark, there were a lot of former players, including Pakistan former greats, who were quite surprised by that remark. So, he's gone on to say that, this is just criticism, that we are just going to take it as positive criticism and we'll work on it. Chetan, your reaction to this, ICC really not taking this seriously, which is the other thing. ICC did not have anything to say about Mohammad Rizwan's Gaza remark as well.
Well, yes, and I've steered clear of that in the past. That's something that I really don't. That I would just like to say that the ICC should have taken notice of that and should have come out with a comment regarding Mohammad Rizwan's antics on the cricket field, religious antics really, or the fact that he's associating his performances on the field with such a high octane political issue geopolitical issue at the moment. The event remark from the team director, I've said before. What does he expect? This is a BCCI event after all, 100,000 people. You expect to play and no fans, no Pakistan fans. So who do you want to play the song for? At the end of the day, it is a BCCI event, and if it feels like a BCCI event, that's a compliment. But let's be honest, there are criticisms of the event. The ICC, have they done a good job? Have they relinquished control of the tournament, of the organization, of the administration to the BCCI? To a certain degree, yes. Is it a point of criticism? No, because that happens with every board. I don't think Pakistan will host an ICC event in the near future. But if they do, somehow, magically, they will realize that they are responsible for administering the event. So, yeah, the ICC hasn't responded to where it should respond. But this criticism from the Pakistan team director is just unwarranted.
Vedam, your reaction to this? Do you think differently?
Absolutely, because on that particular day, on the same day, I came on one of the national channels and the same thing played out when he was talking about the DJs. So I said, next time maybe PCB should send 2 DJs instead of 1 Mickey Arthur, if he's got problems with DJs. I really can't understand this guy, He's been kicked out of a job everywhere. And maybe this is his last job for him. And he wants to hang on, Yes, every major tournament needs a talking point, But to find fault with DJs, I mean, come on. Next, he'll find fault with the coach driver or something like that. Yeah, I mean, it's they say a drowning man clutches at straws. But this is worse than that. And Mickey Arthur, he must be getting heavy flack back in Pakistan. Actually, when he was appointed itself, many of the former Pakistani greats said, why do you need this guy? What does he know that we don't know? And it's the same right now. And losing to India is always very, very big for Pakistan. They might lose 25 times, but still even the 25th victory, they'll take it very poorly. And that's exactly what has happened now. and he doesn't know where to look because they lost without a fight. Let's not forget that they lost without a fight, and that should rankle them. They should rankle the fans, it should rankle the supporters, it should rankle the entire Pakistan cricket establishment and their ecosystem. And he also knows that. He's a former cricketer, he knows that. And sitting there, he's decided that, let's talk something which is not even concerned with the game. I mean, come on, you're going after a DJ. I mean, that's too much. Actually, it's like a lunatic talking. I don't want to say anything about that.
Okay, with that, I'm going to wrap this up because I'm being told we're completely out of time. But that was brilliant, where Vedam said that maybe they should send 2 DJs instead of Mickey Arthur as the cricket director for the next tournament. Thank you so much, guys. It's always a pleasure to have you on the show, Chetan Narula and Vedam Jaishankar. News9 Live is what you need to subscribe to for all the latest from the world of sports. Do let us know what you think of our programming in the comment section below. For now, goodbye. Thanks for watching.